Sichuan High School playground collapses, over 10 students fall into septic tank. Rapid spread of the epidemic, Beijing hospitals overflowing, doctors desperate. Uniqlo raises salaries for Chinese employees, mainland netizens envious. 31 Shanxi government officials stage a collective strike, attracting attention. Funerals employ AI tech to bring deceased loved ones back from the dead. Losses exceeding 300 billion, China's man-made disasters exceed natural disasters. It's all covered in today's China Truths. Sichuan High School playground collapses, over 10 students fall into septic tank. On October 8, Chinese netizens on the mainland were stirred by news of a playground collapse at Huada Comprehensive High School in Resurrects County, Sichuan, which resulted in 14 students falling into the septic tank below. In response to the emergency, many teachers and students anxiously gathered around the pit, and school staff quickly brought ladders to initiate a rescue operation. The school authorities have reported that all 14 students were successfully rescued and immediately received medical treatment. Thankfully, none of them sustained serious injuries. As of now, 12 of the students have returned to school to resume their classes, while 2 others are still under observation in the hospital. The Resurrects County Education Bureau has issued orders for all schools at various levels within the county to conduct inspections of their septic tanks. This includes a review of their specific locations and the materials used to seal them to prevent the recurrence of such incidents. Rapid spread of the epidemic, Beijing hospitals overflowing, doctors desperate. The new coronavirus is spreading rapidly in China, while simultaneously, there's a surge in mycoplasma pneumonia cases. Beijing's hospitals are overwhelmed, and doctors are feeling hopeless. For example, at Qingdao Women and Children's Hospital, over 4,500 patients have visited the internal medicine emergency department and fever clinics. The fever clinic receives 600 patients daily, and an average of 1,300 patients receive intravenous therapy. Video footage shows the hospital overwhelmed, with intravenous bags hanging in the corridors and even on trees in the yard. Given the surge in cases, the hospital has enacted its emergency response plan. Meanwhile, mycoplasma pneumonia is also severe in Beijing, Liaoning, and Tianjin. The Beijing Children's Hospital's Pediatric Research Institute is fully occupied, and hospital admissions are scheduled 15 days in advance. Dr. Zhou Yishan, a pediatrician at Beijing Shanxi Hospital, remarked, "There has been an increase in children with fever and cough recently. X-rays and CT scans often reveal pneumonia." Many colleagues and friends in the field of pediatrics share this feeling. It's a sense of despair because it has become very common. Many children's conditions change rapidly. A child may have a fever one day, a mild cough the next, and the day after, they have pneumonia. This is a common occurrence. Dr. Hao Peng, a cardiac specialist at Beijing Anjin Hospital, noted that certain children diagnosed with mycoplasma pneumonia are currently in exceptionally severe conditions. The underlying causes for this emerging trend remain unclear, leaving both friends and educators equally perplexed. Some individuals had observed cases of bronchopneumonia or similar lung conditions in Wuhan in mid-September, followed by complex pneumonia cases in Beijing. There have been reports of this trend spreading across Shanghai and the entire country. There are speculations among some internet users that this situation might be related to the new coronavirus. This user questioned why there weren't as many cases exhibiting these symptoms before the COVID-19 outbreak. In September, China's National Health Commission reported 398 new severe cases of COVID-19 and 45 deaths, including 1 due to respiratory failure and 44 with underlying diseases and virus complications. Due to the Chinese Communist Party's consistent concealment, the actual figures remain unclear. The sudden release of death figures by the CCP has raised concerns among the public about whether the CCP is planning another lockdown. Uniqlo raises salaries for Chinese employees, mainland netizens envious. In the midst of the economic decline in mainland China, where many companies are grappling with issues like unpaid wages, salary reductions, and employee layoffs, which have posed significant struggles for the workforce, Uniqlo China has announced a salary increase for its employees. This news has rapidly sparked lively discussions on social media platforms within mainland China. In more detail, according to reports from Chinese media, starting from October 1st, Uniqlo employees in China are receiving a salary increase, with an average raise of approximately 28% and the highest increase going up to about 44%. This compensation adjustment has two primary components. First, it involves raising the salaries of full-time employees and interns at Uniqlo stores in Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, and Shenzhen. Some interns have reported hourly wages increasing to 30 yuan, approximately $4.11. If these interns become regular employees, their monthly pre-tax income will be 7,000 yuan for junior employees, 7,500 yuan for intermediate employees, and 8,000 yuan for senior employees. Second, it extends the pay increase to a broader group of employees. This plan is going to cover more cities beyond Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, and Shenzhen in the future. The salary increase at Uniqlo has triggered discussions among Chinese netizens. On October 11th, the hashtags Uniqlo Raise and Uniqlo China Employees 28% Raise started trending online. Most of them praised the impressive percentage of the salary raise. One commenter mentioned, companies that increase salaries are certainly not Chinese ones, otherwise, this would be a deliberate elevation of labor's value. However, some netizens expressed envy and said, according to a Beijing newspaper, Uniqlo's salary increase has had negative consequences on people, it's truly hurtful, or question why foreign companies show such respect for their workers. Tesla and Uniqlo serve as outstanding examples of such businesses. 31 Shanxi government officials stage a collective strike, attracting attention. Recently, an image of a banner at the entrance of the Shi County branch of the Ecological Environment Bureau in Linfen City, Shanxi Province, went viral on the internet. The banner reads, 31 on-duty employees of the Shi County branch of the Ecological Environment Bureau in Linfen City are on strike. In another photo, a group of individuals identifying themselves as employees of the Environmental Protection Bureau shared these images and called for public attention. In response, on the afternoon of October 11th, a staff member from the Personnel Department of the Linfen Ecological and Environmental Bureau responded by stating that the Bureau is aware of the situation, but more specific details would be addressed by the office. The reasons behind the collective strike by these 31 employees remain unclear. China's economy is currently mired in a prolonged slump. In recent months, multiple regions, including Nanjing, Tianjin, Shandong, Jilin, and others, have witnessed civil servants brandishing banners and staging protests due to wage arrears. On September 5th, a video went viral online, featuring dozens of employees from Guilin Radio and Television Bureau holding banners with white backgrounds and black text. They were passionately exclaiming, "We haven't received our salaries for 8 months. We want to survive. We want to live." On September 4th, more than 100 school staff at the First Senior High School of Mengjin District in Luoyang, Hunan, staged a sit-in protest because the school had not paid their salaries for several months. On September 25th, Mr. Li, who is well informed about the situation, informed a reporter from the Epoch Times that people were struggling to make ends meet. He learned from some of his classmates working in the public security system that they had not received their salaries. He discovered that in Beijing, districts such as Shuni, Changping, Pinggu, and Mentugu were borrowing money from Chaoyang District to pay public servants. Meanwhile, districts like Haidian, Daxing, and Fengtai were barely managing to sustain themselves. Mr. Li disclosed that, as of the end of May, civil servants in Nanjing, Jiangsu, had not been paid salaries, and this predicament had persisted for 4 months. Several regions, including Guilin and Guangxi and Shandong, had also experienced delays in paying government employees. Funerals employ AI tech to bring deceased loved ones back from the dead. AI has intruded into the funeral industry, at least in the eerily science fiction series, Black Mirror, where undertakers in China have begun using artificial intelligence, AI, tools to create realistic avatars of the deceased that can communicate with mourners. In reality, according to the Straits Times, Shanghai Sichuan, a company that offers digital funeral services, conducted its first funeral using AI technologies in January 2022. Yu Hao, Sichuan chief executive, told the publication that his company hopes to let the living understand that death is not the end of life. People want to use AI to recover the deceased because they need to release their emotions. The avatars are created through a blend of tools such as the ChatGPT chatbot and Midjourney, an image-generating software, coupled with a compilation of photos and voice recordings that can be combined to form lifelike replicas of the deceased. The goal of its creators is to help people cope with loss through the grieving process. According to The Telegraph, in July 2022, a grandmother named Marina Smith, who had passed away at the age of 87, was able to answer questions at her own funeral with the help of AI-enhanced holographic video technology. She had previously recorded several hours' worth of details about her life, many of which were unknown to mourners. At her funeral, the hologram version of Mrs. Smith was able to respond to questions about her life posed by those in attendance. Her son, Dr. Stephen Smith, co-founder and CEO of Storyfile, the creator of the technology that produced the lifelike image, told the publication that mourners at his mother's funeral felt a sense of relief from the back-and-forth communication from beyond the grave. Dr. Smith told The Telegraph that the extraordinary thing was that his mother answered questions from grieving relatives with new details and honesty. He added, "People feel emboldened when recording their data. Mourners might get a freer, truer version of their lost loved one." However, critics of the AI technology claim that bringing back realistic images of the dead to communicate with the living could do damage by circumventing the mourning process and sending confusing signals, especially to children, in confronting the stark realities of loss. Coming to America? Colin Haskett, president of Haskett Funeral Homes in Zurich, Ontario, Canada, and 3 other funeral directors, acknowledged that while the concept of AI may be initially challenging to accept, people should remain open to the idea of embracing the benefits these new advancements can offer. Speaking to the Epoch Times, Mr. Haskett explains that we are still in the early stages of understanding what AI can do. Currently, it's viewed as a tool to help convey people's stories. As avatars are already being employed in China, it's almost certain that this technology will soon spread worldwide. Mr. Haskett further adds, "We've seen that if a technology emerges somewhere, it usually finds its way everywhere. So, it's safe to say that this technology will become more prevalent in the future. It's not a matter of if, but when." Mr. Haskett points out that he has already witnessed the advantages of AI technology and has started using it to create personalized funeral services. "We've been experimenting with AI, and the feedback has been quite positive. It allows us to develop more creative content, reducing the time required on our end. However, the question of whether lifelike avatars of the deceased will soon be present at American funerals to answer questions from loved ones remains open." Mr. Haskett emphasizes that this will be determined by the public. As for the future, he would definitely not rule anything out. But he said, ultimately, when and how this technology is used in America will be consumer-driven, but people would be crazy not to at least be open to the idea. Losses exceeding $300 billion, China's man-made disasters exceed natural disasters. According to an announcement, China has experienced frequent natural disasters in the first 3 quarters of this year, and the situation is complex and severe. The number of people affected nationwide has reached 89.118 million, with direct economic losses of at least 308.29 billion Chinese yuan, about $42 billion US dollars. The major natural disasters listed by the Ministry of Emergency Management include floods, droughts, typhoons, hailstorms, and geological disasters. Other natural disasters include freezing cold and snow disasters, earthquakes, sandstorms, forest and grassland fires, and more. The number of deaths or disappearances due to disasters is as high as 499 people, and 2.751 million people have been urgently relocated. About 118,000 houses have collapsed, 422,000 houses have suffered severe damage, and 1.035 million houses have sustained minor damage. The affected area of crops reached 9.7148 million hectares. According to China's state media CCTV News, the disasters in China in the first 3 quarters of this year showed a pattern of heavier in the north and lighter in the south, heavier in the east and lighter in the west. In the first quarter of this year, the southwestern region experienced continuous winter and spring drought, while Linji, Tibet, suffered a major snow avalanche disaster. After entering early summer, the dragon boat rainfall intensity in South China was relatively weak, while continuous rain in Hunan and other places brought significant losses to the summer harvest. Following those events, a sequence of major disasters unfolded, including the super-strong typhoon Doksuri, severe floods in the Haihe River Basin, and significant floods in the Songliu River Basin, leading to significant casualties and property losses. Due to the influence of the remnants of Typhoon Doksuri, from the end of July to the beginning of August, Beijing, North China, and Northeast China successively experienced extreme heavy rainfall. The Haihe River Basin suffered from extraordinary floods, the Songhua River suffered a numbered flood, and some areas experienced sudden changes between drought and flood. Despite in the first 3 quarters of this year, the severe rainfall that led to significant casualties and property losses in China has often been linked to climate change, particularly the El Niño phenomenon. Chinese netizens have primarily focused on discussions and complaints regarding the Xi Jinping government's inadequate disaster warnings, ineffective disaster relief, and poor coordination. During the havoc brought by the remnants of Typhoon Doksuri in the disaster-stricken areas of Beijing and Hebei, the affected people couldn't see Xi Jinping, and there was no mention of centrally organized relief efforts. Many residents who were unable to evacuate in time and found themselves in dire circumstances felt helpless and abandoned. The flooding disaster caused by Typhoon Doksuri severely impacted Zhuozhou in Hebei province. Not only was the area submerged under 4 stories of water, but also hundreds of thousands of residents couldn't evacuate in time and became trapped. Observers argue that the central government had required Zhuozhou to serve as a flood buffer for Beijing and the Xiongnu area but failed to plan flood control and response facilities and measures for Zhuozhou. This resulted in an especially severe disaster in Zhuozhou, and public grievances surged. Many people believe that this flood disaster was more a result of human factors than the force of natural disasters. During this period, certain areas in the Beijing-Tianjin-Hebei region experienced extremely heavy rainfall over just 4 days. Floods temporarily engulfed 94 counties and 826 townships in Hebei province, leading to at least 20 deaths and 27 missing individuals. Some argue that while natural disasters may be difficult to avoid, the high number of deaths, missing persons, and extensive losses stemming from these natural disasters at least in part reflect Xi Jinping's leadership deficiencies and ineffective governance. Don't forget to leave a comment in the section below to share your opinions on today's topic with us. Make sure to like and subscribe to see more interesting topics from China Truths.